Hi again, Mark here from TalkingBass. So, as you might have noticed, I've not released a video for just under a month now. That's because I lost my voice and then I was busy moving my studio from one end of the Isle of Wight to the other. But I'm back, and today let's just have a little fun looking at a good old finger exercise. Now, I actually made a video on this particular exercise about 10 years ago, back in the early days of Talking Bass. So some of you long-time Talking Bassers might remember the exercise, but it's always good to refresh some of the old stuff from time to time. This exercise is fantastic for building facility in the fretting hand. You'll build strength and independence in every finger, and it's very easy to learn. Having a problem with the pinky? This is going to sort it right out. Having problems with flappy hand when using certain fingers? Again, this exercise is going to help you out. I guarantee that if you play through this exercise a few times each day, you'll see huge improvements in your fretting hand. It won't do anything for your all-round musicianship, but physically, it'll help you a lot. So here's the exercise. Now, when I talk about fingers by number, I'm talking about 1, 2, 3, 4. So index is 1, middle is 2, ring is 3, and pinky is 4. So we're going to begin with fingers 1 and 2. So we're going to begin at the 5th fret of the E string. Okay, so we're just going to play 5th fret and 6th fret. So it's A and A sharp with the 1st and 2nd fingers. Then we're going to play on the A string, 5th and 6th fret. Then the D string, 5th and 6th fret. Then the G string, 5th and 6th fret. Easy. Then we simply move up 1 fret to the 6th fret, and we play the same thing. Moving up 6 and 7, and then come down D string, A string, E string. So, up to that point. Then when we reach the E string again, we move up a fret. And once again, move across the fretboard. Just using fingers 1 and 2. Then again, when we've got to the G string, we move up to the 8th fret and come down. Now when we reach that particular fret, we're going to move up to the 9th fret, we're going to move up again, but we're going to start our descent back. So we work across, then back down to the 8th fret, and down to the 7th fret, up, down to the 6th fret, down, and then we're back at the 5th fret. Okay, so that's all of it with fingers 1 and 2. So that's. Now, I did play that fairly quick there, but speed is not a part of this exercise. You actually will probably get more out of it if you play slowly, especially when you get to some of the harder permutations. So that's the first finger permutation, 1 and 2, and then we're going to move to the next one, which is going to be 1 and 3. Then after that, we're going to have 1 and 4. So it's going to be starting with 1 each time, 1 and 2, 1 and 3, 1 and 4. Then we're going to move to 2, 3, and 2, 4. And then finally, 3 and 4. Okay, so that's the full exercise, but we'll just work through each one in turn. So, we're now moving to 1 and 3. So, again, we start at that 5th fret, 1 and 3. So each time, we're going to be playing with a 1 finger per fret. So this time it's going to be 1 and 3, taking frets 5 and 7. Okay? Work across and back. Remember, when you get to the 9th fret, you come up and then you start the descent. And we're back at the 5th fret again. And then we have 1 and 4. So this is the index and pinky. So again, remember, we're using that 1 finger per fret system here. So we've got 5th fret and 8th fret. And then up again. On the 9th fret, you start the descent again. So that's 3 permutations starting with the first finger. So let's just work through each of those 3 all as one long exercise. So remember, there's no need to play it fast. So, a few little technical tips here. First of all, let's get the picking hand out of the way. Nothing to see here, it's just alternate picking, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, okay? In the fretting hand, try to be relaxed, okay? So relax the fingers, don't tense up at all. You want to play lightly, and curl the fingers over. When you're playing something like this, especially when you get to the 1 and 4, if you have flat fingers, you'll find you have that flappy hand. This is the perfect way to practice keeping curled fingers, which will help with keeping the fingers close to the fretboard at all times, and you want minimal movement. So just bringing down that fourth finger, bringing it up off the string as little as possible, and keeping these other two fingers as relaxed as possible. So you see there's pretty much no movement in those two fingers. Sometimes you won't be able to do anything about that because of the way the tendons work in the fingers. You know, you bring up certain fingers and you're going to get them moving. But with 1 and 4, you can pretty much keep them quite still, although that third finger will move a little bit. Don't worry about that. We're just looking to avoid this kind of thing, you know, heavy movements. Keep the fingers parallel to the frets as well. You don't want to be coming in at this kind of angle. Use the middle finger pretty much as a guide. That one wants to be really parallel with the frets. And then as you're coming up there, those two there should be parallel with those frets, and the other two fingers coming out slightly at the side. Thumb in the back. And like I said, just keep everything nice and relaxed. Now, things are going to get a lot trickier in a minute, but even at this point, if you're getting any pain, any cramp, anything like that, just stop and have a rest. Check your technique, make sure that everything's in check. You shouldn't be getting any pain at all. When you move to the fourth finger there, yes, if you've got a pretty, unused pinky, then it might feel a little hard to press that down. You just have to concentrate or focus on pressing it down a little more. Don't worry, this exercise will sort that out. But if you start cramping up, just take a break, massage the forearm, and then go back to it. Give it a break, maybe a minute, something like that. If you're having sharp pains in any way, then there's obviously something wrong technically. You need to have a look and adjust something in there, adjust things around until you don't get any pains. The one thing you shouldn't be getting is sharp pains in anything. A little bit of cramp and a little bit of tension, that's fine. But again, like I said, if you keep the hands relaxed, especially in this hand, this hand's not really doing anything. In this hand, this arm, keep things relaxed so you're only pressing down the minimum that you need to, then you shouldn't get any cramp. Okay, now let's get a little trickier. So, now we're going to work through permutations starting with the second finger. So, again, exactly the same exercise. We start at the 5th fret, 2 and 3. So, already this might feel a little bit trickier. And then we're back to the 5th fret, then 2 and 4. So this is going to be the middle finger and the pinky. Again, curl those fingers. Keep things relaxed. And finally, we have one permutation starting with the 3rd finger. So this is 3 and 4. So this is the hardest one by far. So we start 3rd finger there. Again, you'll get a little bit of movement in the 2nd finger there. That's just because of the way the tendons are. Okay, so that's a really good workout for those 2 fingers. So that's all of the permutations, and we can now just play that as one long exercise. But don't go anywhere, we're not finished yet, because I am gonna ramp up the difficulty by quite a lot in a second. So here's that full exercise. So remember, we're starting with 1 and 2. So. Three. Two and three. Two and four. And now finally, 3 and 4. Now, before we move on, there is one additional little technical tip that I can give you for the picking hand here. So as you're moving across, be sure to move the thumb along onto the next string as you go. So when you start on that E string, you want to have the thumb on the pickup. Then move the thumb across onto the E string when you move onto the A string. Then we move the thumb onto the A string as we play the D string and G string. So once you get up to the G string, you should have that thumb there holding down the A and the E string. That means that we're going to be holding down the, or muting the E and the A string, so we're not going to get any of that residual noise. Now, that might not be as much of a problem with the first and second fingers, but when you get to these later lines, or the 1 and 4, things like that, things can all start to get a little bit noisy with, you know, just the way that the hand moves, so you can get this residual noise on the bigger, thicker strings. So by doing this and moving that thumb across as you go, that is going to help with choking off all of that noise. Okay, bonus finger twister. So we've just worked through that whole exercise picked. Now we're going to play hammer-ons. So if we take 1 and 2 here, pick the first note, hammer on. Pick the first note, hammer on. Same again. And aim for consistent attack with each of the notes. So you want that second note there to ring out equally, or as close to equally as you can get it. You know, it's never going to sound like it's been picked, but you want a nice, consistent volume. So then we move to 1 and 3. Make sure that you're keeping the fingers nice and curled, that'll help a lot. And then we move to 1 and 4. If you've got a weak pinky, this is going to help. Two and 3. Two and 4. And you'll probably start to feel it in that forearm by now. And then finally, 3 and 4. Okay, so you could tell there at the beginning of that, I was a little bit rusty. You know, some of those notes in there just didn't ring out as well. A little bit of fluffing, so I know I need to work on that a little bit. You know, work through that, you know, all the way through to those hammer-ons, and I guarantee that you're going to be improving those fingers. Okay, so that's Mark's ultimate finger exercise for bass. Please like this video if it's helped, subscribe to the channel, and leave me a comment to let me know what other areas of technique you'd like me to cover. The lesson material for this exercise is all there over at the TalkingBass website, so get on over there, check out the free membership, the forums, the free ebook downloads, the 25 bass riff challenge, and all the courses, and I'll see you next week.